I think that in the years to come, when history books are open to the chapter that includes 9 and 10:30 a.m. September 30th, 2018, and to the topography that sits along the western shores of Lake Michigan in the town of Evanston, I wonder what will be written. I wonder whether this moment will be a tiny footnote or endnote in size 4 font, Times News Roman. Or will this moment resound with an echoing reverberation as the head of a chapter in 14 font, Arial Black? Shall the effort that has brought us together today, Lake Street and Second Baptist, black, brown, yellow, and white, young and old, men and women, conservatives and liberals, Republicans and Democrats, rich and poor, east of Sheridan residents and west of Ridge Street residents, an Atlanta-based preacher with over 30-year roots in this town. Amen! And a Kalamazoo-born preacher just sprouting buds over on Benson. Amen! A full-throttle gospel choir straight out of the tradition of the African-American religious experience, and a chancel chorale from the New England tradition of Puritans. Will this all be a fuzzy moment, or will it serve as a resounding clash of cymbals, with symphonic alliteration pointing towards the powerful genesis of a brand new day? Shall we be begrudgingly remembered as a continuation of the looming chaos that is growing rapidly around us? Or will we be importantly and affectionately remembered as pioneers and architects in the long march towards building beloved community? This last day of September, in this season and during this year, is a day that is, perhaps as much as any other, filled with possibilities. Second Baptist and Lake Street have gathered together in a unique hour of fellowship, which will be, before it's over, 3 hours of fellowship. Against the pressing weight of our nation's traditions that have divided rather than united our physical, emotional, and spiritual presence, signals hope for a brighter day. Against the rising voices of tyranny, supremacy, and nationalism, the Spirit of the Lord has joined us to trumpet a message that our tomorrow will be stronger than our yesterdays and our today. Even against the doubts found in the hearts of people filled with goodwill, we are offering a declaration of racial and ethnic unity with our mere presence in this place. This is not some latest crazy fad or gimmick that began this morning at 9 a.m. at 1717 Benson and continues now on Chicago and Lake Streets at the 10:30 hour. But this is an existential reality that is being guided by divine presence at work in all of our lives. God is up to something. So I know a great many of you may be wondering just what it is that God is up to. Some of you may not know of the deep, prolonged gatherings and meetings that folks from Second Baptist and Lake Street have gone through to simply come together on this day. It is so much easier to write a letter and sign off on it. It is easier to offer a verbal acknowledgement that we have some things in common and then to just move forward. But to actually make an effort to implement a united gathering at America's most segregated hour, that takes us out of our comfort zone. That is why this is a different reality altogether. There are some who may be wondering just who do these people think they are and what do they think they're doing? After all, the world is becoming more divided than ever before. Our nation is more divided than ever. We have elected officials who are as polarized in Washington, D.C. as those who faced the nation when the South seceded from the Union to begin the Confederacy. Amen.
Amen.
Men and women are not on the same page. Blacks and whites are not on the same page. Urban and suburban are not on the same page. And I would hazard to suggest that not even the 1st Ward and the 5th Ward are on the same page. We are standing on the precipice of either falling into an abyss of chaos or rising into the dawn of beloved community. The threat of chaos seems greater than the promise of community today. From as far away as Canada and China, France and Germany, and as close to the Cook County Forest Preserve, Howard and Custer Streets, trouble is looming with the threat of chaos coming closer than ever. When Lake Street Church and Second Baptist Church gathered together for a similar celebration over 20 years ago that we heard about so eloquently from Bob Thompson not long ago, surely they must have uttered some clarion cry that the future would be brighter, but only after finding a way of dealing with and handling the past. Years ago, the author and freedom fighter James Baldwin wrote, "History, as nearly no one seems to know, is not merely something to be read, and it does not refer merely or even principally to the past. On the contrary, the great force of history comes from the fact that we carry it within us and unconsciously are controlled by it in many ways. And history is literally present in all that we do. The work of all of us who hunger after God and who have been touched by a spark of the divine is to engage in this tug of war and balancing act of doing two things at the same time. We are called to address our history while at the same time carefully planting seeds and planning for the future. We must never become so consumed in history until it drowns us with its oceans of horrors and injustices. And we must never become so lost in the future until we are blinded by the light of idealism and hope. In this setting, how is it possible for members of 2nd and Lake Street who have been touched and graced? Let me rephrase that. In this setting, how is it possible for members of 2nd Baptist who have been touched and graced by the equatorial rays of the African sun? See why I had to readjust that? And members of Lake Street, whose roots are traced to cooler climates on the European continent. How is it possible for us to be gathered together as a singular witness to a God who is no respecter of persons? A God who with just one blood made all nations to dwell upon the face of the earth. A God who made man and woman from the dust of the earth and breathed into their nostrils the breath of life. Is it possible that we are able to bridge the great divide of history and tradition, habits and customs, memories and emotions, filled with a trail of tears from those who went before us? It is why Robert Thompson chose to preach from the question this morning, where do we go from here? Shall it be chaos or community? Perhaps in the great prophet of old, or at least the book that bears his name, Isaiah, we might find a compass for where to go. Yes. In the 40th chapter that was read in your hearing, the author begins to project outward and to describe a picture that has not been spoken about in the preceding chapters. Here, this visionary prophet, whose countenance has been blessed with sacred presence, looks out upon the approaching crisis that will change the landscape of Israel and Judah forever. On the one hand, the nation is doing well by most standards. Unemployment is down. Businesses are prospering. The economy is stable. The king is living large. But on the other hand, the king is cutting deals with the Assyrians, ignoring his own glaring issues and the reality of people falling away from God and falling into a culture of immorality. Almost out of nowhere, the word resounds against the hilltops surrounding Zion. Assyria will come forward to destroy the power of Israel, and Babylon will rise to deal Judah and Jerusalem a crushing blow. The scene is an awful one as Isaiah announces doom and destruction as a result of the unfaithfulness of the king and the people. In the 39th chapter, he announces the Babylonian exile, which will not occur for another 100 years. By the time the 40th chapter arrives, the message in Isaiah takes on a new spin altogether. The author now declares that after all of the suffering the people have endured, God will bring deliverance and restoration and healing to the people of God. The Lord will offer unfailing strength for the weary exiles. And yet the prior message of doom and despair is still so strong until it takes an especially powerful vision to jar the people from hopelessness to hope, from despair to dreaming, from suffering to the promise of salvation. And this powerful vision begins with these first 6 verses in the 40th chapter. For every sad story that has just been told, and for every bitter experience they will endure, the people are now given words of reassurance that the best is yet to come. Second Baptist at Lake Street, every human group, every family, and every person, and every church needs words of reassurance that the best is yet to come. We need to be reminded in the victorious vernacular of the African-American religious experience, no matter what you're going through, remember God is using you. For the battle is not yours, it's the Lord's. This is the message the author is giving the people over 2,700 years ago. And really, this is the message that God is giving to us today. These words by this author is an effort to buttress the hopes of the people against the anguish of their circumstances. This is a Herculean effort in an attempt to lift a people, a nation, to hoist them to some high apex of a sacred place and to carry them into the presence of God. We have in these words everything in the inventory of this writer. We are told that God can do anything but fail. Yeah. With man, it may be impossible, but with God, all things are possible. And I know about inclusive language, and I'm very sensitive to that, but I think the writer got this one right. I think when the writer said with man, it may be impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Got that right. Because I think with women, all things are possible as well. The writer uses every metaphor, every simile, every illustration available in reminding the struggling people that God is in control. God has the whole has never lost a battle, and like a loving shepherd, the Lord tenderly keeps watch over the Lord's sheep. Right here in Evanston today, this assurance is given to us. In light of every extenuating circumstance we might be facing, the very idea that we boldly come before the throne of the Most High God in this declaration of unity should be evidence to all of us that God is up to something. God comforts the people in this passage, even as they suffer under the weight of great oppression. God demands that they look at those things that are not as though they are. And listen to what he says. Every valley shall be exalted, every mountain and hill made low. Who among us can go to the Grand Canyon and lift it into the firmaments of the heavens above? Who among us can go to the apex of Mount Everest and hurl it into downtown Evanston, around Lake and Chicago Streets, Benson and Church Streets? We hear these words so often, but we do not always fully comprehend them. What God is saying to us is that God is able to do the impossible with us. Conceiving and achieving. God can take the descendants of folks who went their separate ways 136 years ago and bring them back together singing, lead me, guide me along the way. God can put two distinctly different houses of worship on a street called straight and march them to the corner of sisterhood and brotherhood. God can do that. God can take a group of committed white folks from Lake Street and a group of committed black folks from Second Baptist and have them openly declare, from this day forward, our main objective in this town is to root out and destroy racism wherever we can see it. Transform and create equity in public housing, law enforcement, housing. Every valley shall be exalted, every mountain and hill made low. And then they go on. Rough places will be made plain. Crooked places will be made straight. We're being called to action, brothers and sisters. If you're not active, you better get up and make your way somewhere. We are being called to live the faith that we read and hear about from week to week. In his famous letter from a Birmingham jail, Dr. King wrote, I must confess that I am not afraid of tension, because justice too long delayed is justice denied. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Why are we doing this? The answer is really very simple. It is because we have to. Justice demands that lovers of justice become active to create justice for everyone. Love demands that believers of love become active in showing love to those who are unloved. Peace demands that lovers of peace become active in spreading peace to those in turmoil. Grace demands that lovers of grace become active in extending grace to every single human being who crosses your path. Equality demands that lovers of equality become active in demanding an end to every law, every practice, and every activity that denies equality among God's people. This is what it means to make rough places plain and crooked places straight. This is what we are declaring by joining together on this day, uniting our God-given forces and powers to change, to be change agents in our time. All right. There's an urgency that has swept upon us, in these uncertain times. A cruel and mean-spirited wind is blowing throughout our nation. been lost in human discourse. Diplomacy has been hidden under the doormat of expediency. Kindness is being interpreted as weak, and stubborn resolve is now defined as a sign of strength and power. We must rise to face these challenges. We must not be afraid to name the evil and wrong that is threatening the very fiber of our nation and the very future of our children and grandchildren. As we do our part, as we play our small role in this existential drama called life being acted out on this terra firma called earth, this author says if we do it right, the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all flesh will see it together. They will not see God breaking through the clouds and riding the ark of the rainbow into this human fray of chaos and confusion. We've got to stop that.
All right.
But they will see us, you and I, breaking through the normality of our everyday lives with the purpose of making everybody's life better around us. Yes. So we must not allow this day to simply be the second one that has unfolded in the past 20 years or more. Rather, it ought to be a day that signals something different. Listen to the voice within that is whispering in your ear right now. Cry out. And listen to the words of the prophet as he responds, what shall I cry? Cry out that the old days of oppression and injustice will end one day, and a brand new day of freedom will dawn on the not too distant horizon. Cry out that while the power and presence of injustice has arisen in the land once again, the power and presence of God is from everlasting to everlasting. Cry out that even as civil rights are being rolled back and women become more vulnerable than ever, human rights are on God's agenda with a word that says in Christ there's neither male or female, slave or master, Jew or Greek, black or white, rich or poor, immigrant or blue-blooded descendants of Jefferson, Adams, and Washington. No difference between a Sheridan Road address and a Church and Dodge Street address, because the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. Cry out that racism in our town, in our Evanston, in our beloved community, from this moment forward will no longer be tolerated, accepted, winked at, supported, or allowed under our watch. But with our love and unity and determination, we will relegate racism and all forms of it to the ash heaps of man's inhumanity to man. Cry out that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Cry out, truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. But the scaffold sways the future, and in the dim unknown standeth God within the shadows, keeping watch over God's own. Cry out, do you not know? Have you not heard? Has it not been told to you from the beginning? God sits enthroned upon the circle of the earth. God sees. God hears. God loves. God responds. And God says community over chaos every time, every single day. Let us live our lives. Let us live our lives like we believe it, and as if our very lives depended on it. Go home and write in your journals, something happened today in Evanston that touched my heart. Something happened to me, and I will never be the same. In the tradition of the black church, turn to your neighbor right now. Look them straight in the eye. Make sure that they look innocent and nice. And with a holy boldness, look at it. Please repeat after me. Neighbor,
Neighbor,
just ahead.
Just ahead.
It's a glorious sight to see.
It's a glorious sight to see.
It is a beloved community.
It is a beloved community.
Because of you.
Because of you.
And me.
And me.
as the hands and feet of the higher spirit. Let's still our souls for 1 minute or 2 minutes, however long it takes, as we prepare to listen to the prayers of the congregation. And another, thank you, God, for this precious day. Thanks to God and thanks to Jesus. And still someone else says, God, I thank you, and I thank you for this wonderful day. When we join hands, no matter who we are, no matter our class, our race, let us pull up that zipper to keep each other warm.
That's right.
Blessings and gratitude for the life of Mother and all of us. May this union